Life has changed a lot over the last 2.5 years since the last ISSH meet in Puri. And so this session is actually a very special one. And we'll be discussing on what has all happened over the last 2.5 years. We have an excellent set of orators, very well known throughout the country, who are going to speak in this session. So over to Dr. Binoy to invite the speakers.
Thank you, Ajish. Let me have the honor of inviting Raj Sabapathy sir. Raj Sabapathy sir is the Secretary General for ISSH and President of Asia Pacific Federation of Society for Surgery of Hand. Sir heads the department in the Ganga Hospital, Coimbatore. Welcome, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Binoy. Yesterday I spoke on 3 hand surgery topics, and after that Ajish rang me and said, you can't escape from speaking on a non-hand surgery topic. So here I am. And that also made me stay overnight. No, thank you so much, Ajish. He asked me to speak on perspectives of the pandemic. So actually this word I like, perspective, because whole life is about perspectives. This I learned from Arvind Hospital. How do you look at a problem? Perspectives. See, your perspective decides the way you decide to act. See, how you look at a problem, after that you decide how to act on it. No, your perspective is what makes you act. And how you act decides the outcome. So finally you will see that the outcome is dependent on how you look at a problem. So that's the way you look at a problem. So this COVID, I like it in 3 levels. This is exactly the way we did also, because you are also a part of a community. So how did it happen? And then you are also as a head of an institution. It's at 650 beds, and you got responsible for 2,700 employees. And third, as an individual, as a part of the family, as to how you look at it. So first is in the community, I think it helped us all to be very humble. Because I am for equality and diversity. I think in all my things I am equality and diversity. I think that's the only way a country can move forward. But this virus taught us equality. Okay, it didn't differentiate the rich and the poor. It didn't differentiate Hindus, Muslims, Christians. It didn't differentiate. It caught everybody. So I think the equality the virus taught us. But then if you really see the response of the community, was it equal? No, it was not equal actually. You really said everyone was not treated equally in the pandemic. So that again is a very eye-opener for us. In future, if we get a pandemic, how we could treat everyone equal, I think that's the question. For want of time, I just leave it off. The next thing is which really taught us was for many fellows who are very haughty, it taught them everything can end tomorrow. Okay, that's the real thing. And I got this very early in life, because you are running a very major trauma unit. You see every day, you see 5 or 6 fellows shattered into pieces. So I got a different perspective of life. Okay, this is what will happen. I was aware of this all the time, seeing severe accidents day in and out for the last 30 years. So when you get that perspective, you could act in 2 ways. Then you say, okay, everything can end tomorrow. I could be rash, I could do all sorts of nonsense. That you could do. One way of looking at it is this. The second way of thinking is that we could make us more responsible and think of every day as the gift of God and do the best that you can do. I think that's what we really have to do. I think for many people it really made that inspired, because when I found a very, very big fellows coming back and telling me this excellent. Next is resilience. Resilience, we say, okay, our economy and all, that's all nonsense, that's all the real nonsense. But then they're all WhatsApp moving for the government. But then what really you have to really think is, if you calculate, it only took 326 days, from the first time the COVID was announced in Wuhan to authorization of a COVID-19 vaccine by stringent, it took only 326. This is the fastest that has ever been done for a vaccine. I think they are the real heroes. So whenever you have a very major problem, all of you have to think, it gives you a great opportunity to become a hero. That's what we have to think. And instead of saying, this COVID, oh my God, it went all this sitting like that, you just have to think, okay, we got a problem, then we got a great opportunity to become a hero. And then that's what we have to think. That's a resilience in the human spirit. And trust and leadership. I think people really know whom they could trust. See, for example, even it's possible to manufacture vaccines, but it was not easy to manufacture trust. Vaccine hesitancy was still there in the beginning. So the trust getting into the medical, is it good or bad? So you find that trust is what we need to do. And it also shows the leadership. Pandemic showed the need for effective leadership. Leadership could think of elections, beyond elections and power. And that I think was woefully lacking in most places. And that's what we need to really have. So that's what I'll take it as a community part of it, as my take. And as a head of Ganga Hospital, so initially I decided that no matter what, we'll do what we are doing. And we are a major trauma hospitals. And when the lockdown came, fellows were going overspeeding, so they wanted to not get caught, reach early. And what we found was major injuries were higher. Smaller injuries stopped coming because they don't travel. They just got blocked. But then we had a set of smashed faces and all that. So many times we used to have COVID positive fellows who are who got panfacial fractures. So that means you're operating at the time when things are people are very, very skeptical about, very worried. That means we did operate. All of them we did. Operated all trauma patients who are COVID positive, and then did not overcharge them for what they are. I think that again it helped us to build a lot of trust in the situations. And I decided that no matter what, unless I get COVID, I said I'll go back to the hospital. Exactly the same time what we normally used to go, we'll go. So that again is important. So whenever you have a problem, so you can't really change. And institutions and individuals who came out much better were the ones who performed well normally during COVID times. So always the same time we get, I think Praveen will tell us, we published the maximum number of papers in that 1 year. So what we did, we came to the hospital and then we worked in the hospital. So maybe clinical work was much lesser, but then we did, and then this helped us to build our trust capital in the community. Somebody rings you up and asks, "Doctor, where are you?" I said, "In the hospital." "Oh my God, thanks, sir." So they all think, doctors will also be outside. So that. Then it also showed us how deep is your trust account. So at the height of oxygen crisis, we thought you just used to have about only 5 hours of oxygen left, otherwise all will go off. Like that, at that time it happened. And district collectors, so all of them, company, they all gave us a preferential treatment. So that also tells you their trust account, how deep it is. At the height of COVID, we did a live hand surgery workshop because Anand Peter, they're all totally gone out. So they said, "Hey, come on, we'll do one for you." So they're all very grateful that we did it, and we did 30 operations in 3 days. Live surgery, we were able to do it. And next thing is crisis reveals people. It said circumstances make people, but I always tell actually circumstances reveal people. So it helped me to understand how people around you perform. It showed me who are all good fellows. Okay, so whenever you have a major problem, you don't really have to explain to the top man what's the problems involved, because he's at a higher level and he can see a wider view. He can actually most of the times the top fellow will be able to have a broader view than what you are having. He knows the problem. I know the problem. But then what we want is people with solutions, okay, who are part of the solution and who are not part of the problem. So it helps us to value people who are willing to do what needs to be done. I think this is a good lesson. And I think whenever you have a problem, all of you have to think, what can I to do make it better? And then present it. Many a time you will find, you will yourself be able to do that. And the last part of it, as an individual, as to some time back, I read an advertisement in DHL. They put a one full page advertisement. I tried to find it yesterday, I couldn't find it. He said, not all things have changed. The title of the advertisement was, Not All Things Have Changed. He said, the pandemic is said to have changed a lot of things, but thankfully, so not all have changed. I said that what were valued before the pandemic are more valued now. I think that honesty, integrity, hard work, all that, what were all considered to be hallmarks for success. Because DHL, they all made tons of money because they all stopped, everything stopped. They had to carry things, post and all. But then they also had challenges because it seems 60% of their this thing were through passenger aircraft. So all passenger aircraft is gone. So now how do you transport? So at that time, the only question is how well you are able to do that. So he said, people who could think beyond the box, all the things which are said to be integral for success, they are now more valued after the pandemic. So not that pandemic has really made it out. So now I personally feel that there are less people in the ring. Then we need to get back to the normal. I think you can't say, oh, COVID, I'm all right and all. No, bullshit. No, I don't want to talk to fellows who are negative. We have to define the new normal. I think that's true. But you have to work hard to get there and stay there. So that again is very important. Whichever unit you work, I think you have to really put a heart and soul into the unit and get it going. And it changed the paradigms of learning. So technology came to the rescue. There are we are up to the point now we are all Zoom, fed up with Zoom like that. So much of this thing came. But actually, this I was telling to everybody. See, when we started in early 90s, 25 years ago, so we are one of the few fellows, Rasha, myself, we had the opportunity to go abroad. Very often we had to go abroad, and then we can we really think where is the things going. We are able to watch and then bring it back. So not many had that advantage at that time 30 years ago. But then here you find this pandemic brought every fellow to your doorstep. Whether it's a Mayo Clinic, Leo Clinic, any fellow you say, at least all the top fellows in the world gave at least 3 lectures to all the Indian hand surgeons. Okay, all the things. So that means it took away that advantage of connectivity, I think it came. But really what I would really think is, whether it has produced better doctors and translated to get patient outcomes is a question that we have to answer. See, we knew what to be done. But whether or not we are able to do that to the patient, I think that's the question. Because you may know what to be done, but then ultimately, it only gets on to the logistics and you being there. So surgery can't be done remotely. So you have to be there. If you have to do it on a Sunday morning, it's only a question of you know what to do. But then whether you're doing there on Sunday morning, that's what counts. So we have to really have a hard think whether all this knowledge that we have created, all the Zooms that we have listened, okay, all the big fellows whom we have talked, have they made us provide better outcome to the patient directly? I think that's the question which we all have to ponder. In-person contact, I think there's absolutely no substitute for that. I think particularly for schools, I think it's for children at home. I think generation of kids at risk. They have been 2 years, they have been at. So I think it's a very, very poor substitute. I think we have to really encourage them to get out and play and get out to the school. And here again, we found that lower income group students, they are a little at a disadvantage. And the same is to be said of surgeons and our learning experience. So I think I should encourage all in-person attendance. Come to the ISSH meeting in Jaipur, the Plapsicon in Amritsar, and Ganga Hospital courses. All of you please come. So I think in-person attendance is the thing. So finally, to sum up, the three important lessons. If I have to put all these 3, the first thing is all of us have to know everything can end tomorrow. I think straight away. I think that I think you have to be very, very, so that will help us to be humble and grateful. And things have to go on. You can't say COVID is an excuse for your inadequate performance. I think that's a straight one-line answer. You can't be blaming COVID or anything else for your lower level of performance. And all of us have to be part of a solution and not part of a problem. I think we cannot be highlighting problems. Okay, we have to be giving solutions. And no matter who you are, you can't live alone. I think however big you are, I think you have to be a part of the community. And you require every other person for you to be good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I guess most of us know how much of a challenge it is to keep Dr. Sabapathy away from Ganga Hospital. So thank you, sir, for staying back and for being here in Kochi today. Our next speaker is Dr. Mohammad Abdul Nasir. So Dr. Nasir is the consultant anesthesiologist in KIMS Al Shifa in Perindalmanna. And he is a past president of the Indian Society of Anesthesiologists Kerala chapter and is currently the president of IMA Perindalmanna. So he will be talking on the activities of the ISA during the COVID pandemic.
Good morning, respected chairpersons, senior faculty members, teachers and members of ISSH. Greetings from Indian Society of Anesthesiologists Kerala State Chapter and from KIMS Hospital Al Shifa Perindalmanna, where I work with Dr. Ajit Shankar and Dr. Tushara. I took charge in 2019 October with Dr. Binil Isaac from Jubilee Mission Hospital and Dr. Sunil PR from Sri Chitra Tirunal. Other than the routine activities, we thought of introducing few newer things, that is improving research and publications from teaching institutions. That is something which I thought it's lacking in the state of Kerala, though there are a lot of clinical materials available. And the second thing was Indian Resuscitation Federation Council resuscitation protocols to be brought in the country, which we are seeking recognition from ILCOR Society also, and that should form a guidelines for Indian resuscitation under the situations in our country. And we started to visit teaching institutions, started from Kozhikode, where we have interacted with the teachers and postgraduates, but we could not continue it more. And that time, we changed that aspect. Second thing, our target to train more than 25 lakhs people in the state also, we could not continue because it requires personal contact and it requires gathering from the public, which was never permitted due to the COVID. Our routine activities, the state conference and the PG conference also, we could not conduct because of it. So we thought of changing the entire scenario of functioning of the Indian Society of Anesthesiologists, and that gave birth to few important things. One is the postgraduate update. This is a flagship program from ISA, where we have classes on every Saturday for 3 hours, and that is continuing even still after 2 years. What is more important is that this is something like a syllabus-based, including the National Board syllabus. And we have all the topics, the lectures, case discussions, recent advances, machines and drugs and all. And that provides us an opportunity to get the best teachers from the country, the best experts, and something to like forming a uniform curriculum. And this is recorded, and the recorded version is available for future reference. I'm happy to say that this remains a reference platform for all the postgraduates and for all the teachers. And in almost all meetings, many teachers from the best institutes of the country were part of it, and they regularly contributed it. And it is still continuing in a different manner, where we have the recent advances, where we have the motivation for the research and the publications. And following that, the national ISA and many of the state ISA adopted the same pattern. We know that teaching is not uniform across the country. There may be good teachers, there may be teachers who are not up to the mark of expectations from the postgraduates. But here we got the best teachers from the country and the best teaching. And second thing, as one part of it, we got the best person, Dr. Baljit Singh, to talk on the changed pattern of the exam. OSCE, who is part of this team, who formulated the OSCE, and that helped the students to perform under this. A rapid refresher course, which is a 4-day course online, which just refresh what all topics we have taken for the last 1 year, and it is just a model exam for the postgraduates. This is something different, which we introduced, just to highlight the educational and employment opportunities abroad. And for this, we have the experts. They are not only the practitioners in the country, they are people who are directly involved in formulating the higher studies, who are directly involved in the recruitment. And we were fortunate to get the people from all major countries like Australia, USA, Europe, Singapore, and India. Here from Europe, we have a team of 4 people who were there to highlight on this, and they were ready to continue their support even after that. And this is actually confined to the specialty of anesthesia, and a lot of people through this got the opportunity to try for abroad. COVID definitely created a lot of confusions in the operation theatre and intensive care unit. We know that whether to use a COVID test before the surgery, whether to use something to protect during the process of intubation, some hood or something like that. We studied this in detail, discussed with the expert, and brought out an advisory, which definitely forms a reference manual for all the healthcare institutions in the state. There are one or two points I would like to highlight. We have a practice of giving oxygen even to patients who received a regional anesthesia during surgery and the post-op, and we studied that matter in detail. We thought that majority of patients does not require this oxygen. As Dr. Raja Sabapathy said, we could utilize this opportunity to find out the requirement of such rare resources, and we found that majority of the patients does not require oxygen, and you need only just to monitor the oxygen saturation, and we could avoid the use of oxygen in the operation theatre on regional anesthesia techniques and in the post-operative units. Our organizational activities, all of you, as many organizations were doing, they all moved on to a web platform. Our state meetings were attended by the branch presidents and secretaries. That could give us a better opportunity for a better interaction and taking their ideas. Similarly, the national GC meetings, all the state presidents and secretaries were made part of it. And that gives us opportunity to express our ideas and brought out some new ideas as uniform elections across the country in ISA, some and better formulations of the conference protocols and PG curriculum. And moreover, we have got a personal familiarity among all our officials as we are meeting for more time. The practitioners in field of anesthesia realize the importance of membership and the scheme, and there is a very good improvement in the membership and social security schemes like ISA Family Benevolent Fund. And we could able to support at least few of our members who are in real financial need affected by the COVID, and that shows our team functioning in the state of Kerala. Another important thing is the 6 months regional anesthesia course under Trivandrum City Branch, where we have discussions every fortnightly, including workshop, including live demonstration and evaluation and certifications. Coming to the service to the public, many branches conducted vaccination camps where thousands of people were vaccinated and motivated for vaccinations. And we were conducting awareness classes at many places. And we are preparing for our next mega event at the same place at Cochin. And the SAR conference is in August. And the lessons we learned as crisis comes, as COVID spread all over the country, we explored new horizons, and we learned how to survive in unfamiliar situations, and we realized the importance of organization, and we supported the members, and we supported the society and the medical profession. And there is an exponential growth in all the activities in spite of all the unfamiliar situations. I take this opportunity to thank you all, especially the organizing team, Dr. Binoy and Dr. Ajit Shankar, for giving this opportunity and to give a chance to interact this auspicious gathering. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Let me call on stage Dr. Vijay Mohan. Dr. Vijay Mohan is Vice President of Kerala Orthopedic Association. Sir heads the Department of Orthopedics and Rheumatology at Astra Med City, Cochin. Sir has brought in the concept of subspecialty practice. The department consists of one consultant for arthroplasty, one consultant of scopy, one for hand and micro, pediatric ortho, foot and ankle. And the best part was that sir has roped in the rheumatologist into the orthopedic team. So the rheumatologist is not with the medical, they are with the orthopedic. I welcome you, sir, to give the talk.
Good morning to all. and respected chairpersons, seniors and dear friends. When I was hearing from Sabapathy sir's talk, actually I was really impressed with the 2 points you brought out. One is the perception and second is the resilience. So I just, what we learned from COVID is, apart from these two, the ability to adapt. And from this technical glitch, I think perseverance also. So these are the few things we learned from. So of course, COVID was actually a difficult situation for all of us. And let me share like few of my thoughts. It may be a little different from what Sabapathy sir has shared. What exactly we experienced during the COVID? I mean, when the pandemic engulfed the world with all its vigorous constrictions over mankind, did you actually feel frightened or you felt relaxed? Should have an honest look back into ourselves. Did you feel relaxed because at least for a short span of time, we could escape from the hectic schedule and numerous necessary and unnecessary demands our patients give on us, and the frustrations and mental assaults we face, or even the physical assault? Be honest. Don't you feel probably after years we could spend fruitful time with our family and dear ones during these 2 years? Especially when we were one of the privileged class who can travel without restrictions. Don't you think you enjoy the traffic-free roads, less crowded marketplaces, less polluted air, the silent atmosphere from your house to the hospital? I enjoyed, obviously, and when I discussed with a lot of friends, they also agreed for this. Have you ever approached this little philosophically? Me living in the middle of the city, I felt like I traveled in time machine to my good old childhood in my village, where I used to get up late in the morning when the rays of sun literally wake me up with his hot hands. The chirpy birds acted as my alarm clock, and the soft, gentle morning breeze, I felt better than my AC. Felt like back into the tranquil nature for few days again. Don't you think man is the only animal in the earth affected by this pandemic? And all other animals and birds and vegetations were grateful to the Almighty for caging the most dangerous animal in the world. But of course, that is only one side of the story. Doctors are the most and worst affected group in this pandemic. They had to face all restrictions and obstacles imposed on any common man, and along with that, the increased stress of work among the deadly infection, and at least for a big chunk of doctors, loss of financial stability too, apart from social stress. Of course, doctors have experienced huge performance pressure as well as increased unfavorable psychiatric outcomes due to overwork, inadequate protection from contamination, and frustration from failure to provide optimal patient care. Several factors contributed to the distress of doctors, including feelings of vulnerability or loss of control and concerns about self-health, spreading the virus to their family and other being isolated. In addition, they must be dealing with critically ill patients with a high tendency to develop complications and increased mortality rate. This is an interesting study published in JAMA which explains the data and projects a dark face to the smaller institutions and clinics. Physicians in small private practices around the country have reported steep declines in revenues. In certain states of US, there are reports of doctors seeking help from GoFundMe, a patient welfare finance scheme for their survival. Across the world, in India also, the solo practitioners and small-scale clinics took the brunt of it, and a lot of seniors and solo practitioners have stopped their practice. Just means a lot of doctors are going to age fast and become useless citizens with no financial support if they have not already planned their life. Telemedicine, as Sir has pointed out, is something which grew enormously during this pandemic. But how far it can replace a physical consultation is doubtful. Apart from the technical glitches, the loss of art of healing touch is the most important drawback. I think we have already seen a huge decline in teleconsultations once we have restarted our normal work. But what about the psychological safety of the medical practitioners? A survey in the UK showed 54% of physicians reported morales as low or very low. And burnout is rising in different studies. The prevalence is from 66 to 80%. There is a crisis in staff retention, especially in Western countries, with up to 48% doctors considering leaving the profession. COVID has challenged these basic principles of medical practice. Doctors had to prioritize patients based on their limited resources and even had to deny life-saving of terminal stage people, something we would have never dreamed otherwise. The biggest assault of COVID in doctors is the moral injury it caused. They had to prioritize against the principles they studied, had to sensitize themselves regarding the personal risk against the professional responsibilities, had a sense of guilt of infecting their dear ones at home, especially when high-risk people were at home. They had to self-isolate and stay restricted from their own family. All these cause a sense of guilt and moral injury. More than 3 lakh healthcare workers were seriously affected and more than 7,000 died across the world. Many times of this had serious mental and physical ailments because of COVID. But still we have no other choice to go ahead as we are the frontline workers. Most of us are infected more than once already, and we actually don't know what are the consequences going to be in future. One good thing COVID has done us is that it exposed an otherwise neglected aspect, physicians' well-being. The common man may not be aware of it still, but at least those who drive the nation and those who drive hospitals are well aware of this now. I personally feel the paradigm shift towards physicians even in the corporate management sector where I work. People have realized that improving the working lives of clinicians can optimize the performance of health systems, improve patient experience and drive population health, and reduce cost also. Let's hope this will bring positive and long-lasting effects in our life and practice. Flexible working arrangements, enhanced teamwork, reductions in administrative burdens, and optimal use of technology are going to be the keystones of success going forward. A lesson we learned from COVID. We had seen in the past couple of decades a shift from MBBS to MHA and from MHA to MBA. And in the last few years, we are seeing even CFOs ruling over CEOs. So that has actually destroyed the hospital practice to a certain extent or to a great extent. But now we see a travel in the reverse gear. Everyone has realized that doctors and staff are more important. I'm inviting your attention to a video which became viral during this time.
No, it's not. It's to take care of the people who work in the hospital. You take care of the people who take care of the people. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. Every administrator and every senior doctor senior nurse should be preoccupied with one thing and one thing only. Are my doctors okay? Are my nurses okay? Is my staff okay? And if you get that right, they will devote all of their time and energy to taking care of each other and the patients.
It's good that people have started thinking in this way.
COVID-19 will be the catalyst that burns this broken system to the ground. And here, this is the end of the administrative technocracy that has destroyed medicine. COVID-19 will wash this filth back into the sea from which it oozed out.
If this happens, that will be the biggest help COVID has done to the medical profession. So what we learned, importance of data, documentation and analysis. How a vaccine could be made in just 6 months' time. Huge data, proper analysis by teamwork, and need of the hour to try, experiment, and learn from the mistakes and update. That's how we could restrict COVID. So dear friends, long COVID is real. We have to live with it. What we learn from that is more important. Rule of the nature is survival of the fittest. To be the fittest, you should learn from past and present and need to be versatile in adaptation. Always remember, human evolution has reached its maximum. Our days are numbered till AI and machine learning conquer human being. It's going to happen soon. But jeopardizing nature and cutting corners to reach the top of the food cycle, we have compromised our abilities that species will acquire through gradual developments. That's why a small virus could put us behind bars for indefinite period. So we need to learn, not only from our profession, but also from your personal life. We need to remember that we are not immortal and plan for our personal life, professional life, and life of our dependents. Professional, social, cultural, and financial planning. Otherwise, we may perish. The two processes by which Homo sapiens become rulers of the globe are knowledge mutation and cognitive revolution. Those who have read the book Sapiens by Yuval Harari will understand this. Now COVID has necessitated a second cognitive revolution to each one of us and the whole mankind. So learn from mistakes, and practice to adapt rapidly. That's the key points we should learn from COVID practice in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay sir, for being as inspiring as ever. So it is now my honor. It's now my honor to invite Dr. Anil Bhat, the head of Department of Orthopedics in KMC Manipal. He is here as the head of the ISSH research wing, and he will be talking us through how the ISSH research wing got established and then flourished during the entire COVID pandemic.
Good morning, everyone. So from the positive aspects of COVID, which SRS showed, and of course the dark side of what the COVID did and what are the future, what Dr. Vijay showed, I think opportunities come when the difficulties arise. And as Sir was telling, the world came to us. We had so many webinars. But whenever I used to see these webinars or be there in the webinars, and when they used to ask us about our own data, our own publications, our own work, it used to pain me to see that we couldn't give a lot of information. And that is when this thought came at that point of time. And when you want to do something very strongly, I think the universe conspires to do that. And so I went ahead and proposed this at that point of time, because we have very active members, even in this, what we have seen from the last 2 days, doing so much of quality good work, huge data among ourselves. The data is the new oil, so that we can produce that big data if we collaborate, and we can produce the new data if we innovate together. And that is, as I said, the same time when Dr. Tate sir was becoming the president, and he gave this theme, which was the Indian normative data. So everything fell in place at that point of time. And these data needs to be streamlined, stored, spread to the world through the ISSH. And we have many editors, editorial board members, and supports of journals now. And our contribution to the world hand surgery literature will be definitely immense if we go through this. So that's how this was born, to coordinate, collate the clinical work of our members towards research outcomes. And basically it was to encourage and handhold clinicians for publication of such data, to support, coordinate, and enhance multicentric studies, especially when we have so much of numbers, to reach high volume numbers from our country in specific areas, and if possible, to give guidelines. We should be advocating with the amount of clinical work we have, and not just listening to people from the Western world. And other thing was to develop scientific registry systems to pull in the data from various hand surgery centers, and then also get in the renowned international resource persons so that we can collaborate with international studies. September 2021 is where the ISSH research wing took shape, took wings. This is the logo we created. This is one of my students who created this. It features that ISSH logo in the center with the depiction of an atom at its bottom, signifying the depth of the knowledge and use of scientific knowledge for the benefit of mankind. The two hands in the form of the lotus, the Padma, signifies purity, which is basically ethical research, and enlightenment, which is to seek answers. And the bounding circle represents the originality, the original ideas so many of you have presented from yesterday, and perfect planning and perfection as well as the infinite nature of the research itself. There are 3 words below: the document, innovate, publish. This reminds of the minimum and necessary requirements for the research, and which we need to keep doing this. So the first task given to me was, and our team was, the ISSH President's team, which was normative data. Absolutely no major normative Indian data, especially with related to upper limb. If you look at any of these things, there are small studies done here and there, but absolutely no data. So that was the plan. 14 projects of this with 9 multicentric. So this is the list of the projects which we have started, right from nail growth to PD to any of these things: upper limb measurements, grip strength, pinch strength, hand dominance, thumb length. All these have been taken up. There are 14 projects which are simultaneously going on even now, and 9 of these are multicentric studies. So that is the beauty of collaborating here. The second was to start multicentric studies among our own people. So that was one of the plans we had. The first study is being planned by Dr. Hari for congenital hand differences with syndromic association specifically. So this is one of the things which we want to do. The next major project which we just started was clinical practice guidelines. I think all societies, all nations have their clinical practice guidelines, but we've just started in a very small step, very common carpal tunnel syndrome, mallet finger, trigger finger. It's for the Indian context. We have many such guidelines if you look at it, but when we look at our practice, our people, the finances of our patients, it totally changes the management. What is ideal in terms of a CPG given by some other country absolutely doesn't hold it good for our country. And Ajish has helped so much for this. Thanks, Ajish. So this is how the working committee will be formed. These are the members and how we are doing it in the most scientific way. We've got advisors to see how this can be done. And it's not just giving guidelines telling do this, do this. Of course, based on all the systematic reviews and everything, but the most important thing is to train our own members to actually perform the CPG guidelines, how it evolves. And I welcome ISSH members to join the committee who are interested. We just recently sent out a mail and we've got good response of people trying to come in. So we have the standing committee there, the lead committees, then you have the evidence review team, and then the guideline, finally the guideline development group, and finally we get the CPG onto the members. Monthly research clinic is what we do every Thursday, 7:30. Many of you have attended this. Basic stuff, prospective study, how to do it, how to write a case report, how to write a manuscript, how to do retrospective, how to review literature. Recently we had Rohan doing how to review literature hands-on, live, asking everybody to do it along with him. And these are very, very important. And one of the dream is if somebody is not published till now with lot of clinical work, lot of practice, and even if they come out with one publication, I think what we plan to achieve will be done with this particular research wing. Patient outcome measures for all conditions of the upper limb is already put in the website. Assistance for publication for ISSH members, peer review, related softwares, Grammarly, Turnitin, anything you want would be put up there. Statistical consultancy, that's the bane of most of the publications. So we would want to have on board a regular statistician who could do all our work and the copy editing process. And also a video library rather related to research. So all the videos, all the research clinic webinars which are happening, how to write a prospective study or a case report, all those are being put into as videos there. This is the web page in the ISSH research wing which has come up recently. These are our members and they do a fantastic job. All of them take up their responsibilities and help us doing all these things, and it's just started and I hope it continues. So those three words is what I would like to highlight: to document what you do, to innovate whenever you can, and definitely to publish and give the world what India is doing in hand surgery. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank all the speakers for a truly wonderful session. And well, tea is ready, so we'll have a small break of 5 minutes and then we'll get back. Yes, Dr. SRS has something to say.
I should just congratulate Ajish, Binoy and Anil for doing what good work they're doing. I should also thank Pankaj Ayre, who is not here. He's really made a sea change in the way ISSH works, and it really gives a lot of value to the people. I think this one association, we have given a lot of value to the people, and we have had a lot of good innovative steps we have taken. Probably will be the first association where life membership goes, and we pay annual membership, because we are paying for Rotary Alliance, even for our flats we pay annual membership. We said, unless now we have money, I think we can't. Now ISSH is very good. And this time for the Asia Pacific Federation, we subscribed the journal.
At such a throwaway price, I think throwaway price which normally would be about 25,000 is for 3,000. The rest, our association. So what I would request you is, if those of you are not members of ISSH, please become members. That's one. And second, be active in the ISSH. Third, subscribe to journals. I think that's very important. Thank you.
Just to add to that, so we have the midterm semi this Saturday and Sunday, but just to see the amount of activity that goes on, Thursday was Dr. Rohan with the research clinic. Friday was the journal club where Dr. Praveen doing on PIP injuries, and obviously every Sunday morning there is a video. So even this Sunday morning, the entire ISSS has received a video made by Dr. Manish Jain, who is also here, because we are starting the ISSS Academics Arthritis Month. That first video is also there. So even in these 4-5 days, so much of things have gone on. So please become members, as Sarah said, and thanks everyone for a wonderful time that we have all had here. Thank you, sir. We'll move to the next session in another 5 minutes.